Welcome, and thanks for stopping by. Whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to our podcast on one of your favorite platforms, I'm glad you're here. At this time, I would like to thank our partners and sponsors for their dedication to helping the show to grow. We cannot do what we do without their help.
You reached the Millennium Beat with your host, Kevin James. Today I have Roni Travis. Roni, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. I'm excited to be here.
All right, this is kind of take two, but I'm in Florida and you're out in what, Washington State?
I am actually in BC, Canada. So
You're in
I am
Canada.
on the West Coast, but yeah, I'm way up there.
You're that's right. When I saw your thing, it said something, and I can't remember what it was. I have to look at it, but it said something Washington. So
Yeah, it wasn't giving me the option to, I don't know if it was my computer glitching, but it wasn't giving me the option to pick a province in Canada. So I was like, well, this is the closest we're going to get.
okay, well, that might be something I have to fix. I wrote I had a professional company write it, and then I've updated it. So you're the first person I've done outside the United States. I know somebody wants to do an interview from Australia, so that would be interesting.
Oh, cool.
And another friend of mine from Israel, so he wants to do an interview, but he travels in the United States, so I'll probably catch him when he's here. So I'm glad that you came, and we got connected. And tell me about Roni, where she came from, the story of Roni. The story of Roni sounds like a book.
Yeah. So I grew up in a small town in Ontario. My parents and my family actually own a campground. So they bought it when I think I was about 5 or 6. I can't remember. But I grew up running a family business, right? Working in the store, delivering wood.
Oh, wow.
I went to school. I came home. I helped my parents work. And then by the age about 12, I decided I didn't want to work for my parents anymore. I wanted a real job. So I went to the restaurant down the street and I got a job there. And my mom tells me I came home from school or from work that day and I was like, man, why did I want to get a real job? But I've been working ever since. And just real small town kind of girl. I grew up playing hockey, playing sports. And that was kind of what got me into fitness and health it just has always been my outlet. Right. I love the team atmosphere. I loved doing things with other people and I loved motivating people. Right. Like I was the captain of my hockey team and just I've always been kind of a leader and inspirational type of person. And, by grade 12, when they're telling you pick a school, decide what to do with your life, I went off to university and I thought I would get a Bachelor of Arts degree because that's what we were told to do. Right. You're told to go on and get a good education. And I hated it. I hated it. I didn't want anything to do with it. And a friend of mine was in the fitness and health promotion program. And, he's just like, you know what? I really think you would enjoy it. So I went, I checked out the school and I got to meet some of the teachers. And it was really scary because, I was at the university my mom was at and I was like doing what she was doing. And it was like that pressure to, go to university and like get a higher education. And I mean, not that there's anything wrong with college, but amongst my friends, it was like, like in Canada, college is different than university. Like it's two different things. Like tends to be shorter and things like that. But I was like, you know what, this isn't what I want to do. And that was kind of the first decision I made that went against the norm of like, going against the grain and kind of doing what I wanted to do. But that was, 10 years ago, I guess, that I went to school now. And kind of brought me to where I am now and kind of started my whole journey and what I've been doing. But it was, like I said, it's growing up, it was a lot of, I just think small town vibes, but very different with running a family business, and it's funny. My brother and I joke because growing up, like we didn't like it, right? Obviously, like normal kids came home from school and they got to watch TV, they got to do nothing, and we had to work. But now I look back and I'm really appreciative, right? Like I feel like my work ethic, my responsibility, and the person I am today has totally come from, all those lessons I learned that I didn't want to when I was younger.
Right. One of the things I have to ask this question, because it was many years ago, does your parents still own that campground? Or has it been,
They do actually. It was supposed to be a 5-year plan, and it has rolled into like a 20-something year plan now.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. I was just curious because I'm in the process in the next year or so buying like a 40-foot diesel pusher bus. So I said, I know somebody because I've got other people in Washington State. So I have to look exactly where you're located and kind of really figure. Because I was saying in Washington State, but now if you're up in Canada, all I know about Canada is the what is it? Not Quebec, because that's another part of Canada. Vancouver. Yeah. New England would say Vancouver, but it's Vancouver, right?
Actually, Vancouver, and it's actually very close to where I live.
Okay.
So I say very close as in Canada is large and we're in the same province. So Vancouver is about 4 or 5 hours from me. But
well, that's not that close.
I grew up on the east. So I actually grew up just north of Toronto.
I've been there.
But yeah, so Vancouver is very close to me, and Vancouver is beautiful. Yeah.
Well, Vancouver is I call it the Hollywood of Canada. A lot of shows from CW, The Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, all those shows were all filmed. A lot of things are filmed in Vancouver. That's why I say it's the Hollywood of Canada. It's like totally Georgia, and you have Florida, you have California, you have Florida, not Florida, but more Georgia does a lot of shows now. You got Texas that does the show they call The Chosen. They're out of Texas, so you got a lot more people other than Hollywood. So interesting. I joke about Canada. When I was younger, I was kind of prejudiced. I didn't like Canadians. I always tell this story, and I said I apologize because I found out later after doing a somewhat research. I thought I was French Irish, but I am actually Canadian French. I'm actually I have a Canadian blood in me, and I have Indian, but I don't know what type. Until I do an a search, I don't know all the details. But yeah, I'm from Canada. My grandparents came from Canada, and it's funny. I don't know what part. I have probably the east coast of Canada, most likely, because I was born on the east coast of Massachusetts or central Massachusetts, but. So what was it like growing up in Canada? I mean, other than you working and stuff like that, and what was it like?
Honestly, it was great. Like it was very fun. We are lucky enough that we have all 4 seasons, right? So, we go out playing in the snow. It's, I look back and I joke a lot of the things I grew up doing are very stereotypical Canadian. Like, my dad always built a skating rink in our backyard and, we got to do that, all those types of things. And like, due to having the campground, we actually had a lot of fun because we had all of these trails. We got to, once I got old enough to have parties, I had parties and like we would go snowmobiling and sledding and dirt biking and like we got to do a lot of it. Honestly, it was a lot of fun. And I was lucky enough that my grandparents actually owned a place in Florida, right near Pebble. I think it's Pebble Beach. Am I right? Near Daytona?
Okay, Daytona. That's not far from me.
Pebble. Okay.
I don't know. I've not heard of Pebble Beach. I've heard of Palm Beach. I've heard of, but
I think
Pebble
I'm confusing
Beach.
It with something else now. But they were
because that's California. There's a Pebble Beach, I think, in California.
Yes. But we were very lucky that we got to go to Florida a couple times and like do things like that too. So we were lucky enough to kind of travel. But like there are a lot of stereotypes about Canadians that are very true. Like I said earlier, I grew up playing hockey and all of those
that's the biggest one right there that I can think of. Everybody talks about 2 things. Everybody in Canada plays hockey and everybody in Canada says A.
Both of those are very true.
Yes.
I will probably end up saying it at some point during this
So
interview.
far, I haven't heard it from you, but it's normally the typical stereotype of Canadians play hockey and they say, "Hey, how's it going, eh?"
Yeah. So I spend a lot of times with Americans online. So I tend to say it less and less because every time you say it, they they just laugh or do something. So it's like you kind of get away from it.
Well,
but,
I had a Boston accent, and I came down to Florida after living there for 30 years in Boston, or west of Boston. But I got involved with a youth group, and the teenagers were terrible. Every word that I said that wasn't correct from their pronunciation. And I always use this as an example, is the word Regina. I always called it Regina, and any word that ends with an A, we add an R, and any word that ends with an R, we drop it. That's how New England was. It's like ka, and Bedard, it's like, no, not Bedard. Or the biggest one we had is the word idea. We called it idea funny. Instead of idea. It's idea, not idea, and then the funny one now today is freezer or freezer. Depends on if it's freezer because it has an R, but in New England it's freezer. So so that's cool. I mean, so you got growing. What really made you make a decision, get into health? And I mean, I know that you were involved in school and stuff like that. Was there anything personal that made you get in that fight mode of like, okay, I want to, were you heavy, and then you wanted to lose weight, or you just so much into athletics your whole life that it wasn't a major change, but it was just a directional change?
It was honestly more so my mental health than anything that kind of led me to that. I grew up, as most girls do, very self-conscious, right? Always trying to kind of control it and always trying to lose weight, be smaller, all that type of thing. But the more that I started learning about nutrition and exercise from a place of what's actually good for your body and learning to take care of yourself and applying more of those mental health and mindset tools, I started to really feel better. And my anxiety and all of those other things were going away, right? They were affecting my day-to-day life less and less. And finally got to this point where I just I felt so good. And I was I just wanted everybody to have it, right? I wanted to bottle it up and give it away if I could. And it just, I went through phases where I kind of got out of it for a while. There was a few years where I was working in a gym and I was competing in a fitness competition, and then it just became too much. And I finally just quit it all, right? I was like, this is too much. I don't want to do it. And it's not just that, you stop working out and, maybe you gain a few pounds, but I noticed again, my mental health fluctuating. And for me, it's just always that piece of, I feel better mentally and as a person when I'm doing this. So yeah, I was never super overweight or anything like that. But I just grew up and I was always active, but it was once I realized what it was actually doing for me, I never realized the mental health effects that all of this was having on me. And that was really what led me to getting into the health side of things, was just seeing it's not just about weight, right? It was seeing how much better I felt. And like I said, I just once I learned how much it affects your whole life, I was okay, I need to learn everything I can. I need to share it as much as I can. So, and that's cool.
You got a passion. And I do realize because I know this personally myself, is when you are losing weight and getting better, you do feel better mentally. And then as soon as you start gaining weight again, then you kind of go the opposite direction. And that is, first of all, that's an up and down or roller coaster ride. That's not good mentally either. But it's something our bodies create. Maybe you might know more about this than I do. That might be some chemical that just is triggered when you start gaining weight and you just don't feel good. You look in the mirror, and I know for a fact that I was losing weight. I lost 60-something pounds in the last few months.
Wow, that's awesome.
Well, I can't take total credit for it. Unfortunately, I'm a class 2 diabetic, and they gave me a new drug that actually one of the side effects was losing weight. But it brought my A1C down, my blood sugar was down, everything was good. But here in America, pharmaceutical companies, pharmacies, are a little bit greedy. I went from $25 to about $1,500 per month. So,
oh my gosh,
that's here in the United States, and even people. I was talking to somebody that we have to go to Canada to get the drugs for Eliquis, which is a blood thinner.
Mhm.
They have to go to Canada to get it because it's too expensive here. I mean, I get it pretty cheap because I've had 2 blood clots in my life. So once you have blood clots, one was caused by, I don't know, whatever, and the other one was caused by COVID. And so now I'm on it for life, and I pay $10 a month. But if it got too expensive, then forget it. I ain't taking it. I don't care. I'll just take my chance. But
Exactly. Yeah.
it's a mindset. It's dealing with like so your deal sounds like more not just the physical body, but also the brain. I mean, so you're balanced. You balance both of them out with your students and stuff like that. I'm assuming you have students or clients or whatever you might want to call them. But you
Yeah.
deal with that. How long have you been doing that? I mean, as a coach.
So I got my first client in 2015, I think, is when I started.
Okay.
I graduated school 2015, and I started working since then. So about 8.5 years, if
Okay.
my math is correct there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Give me a
yeah, so
calculator. I was like,
yeah,
yeah. It's
exactly. But
I math in my head, forget it. But that's cool. So
I
about
know.
8.5 years. So that's good. So and then you enjoy it. You could tell. I could tell by the personality. If you were my coach, I would enjoy working with you because you're bubbly, you're talkative in a good sense. You're easy to get along with, easy to talk to. Because I had a personal trainer back in the early 2000s. I had a personal trainer at the gym, and I just mostly spent on cardio and stuff like that. But I was I think it was like 255 down to 200. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then the mental thing changed. My mother died, which I was very close to, and I took care of. And then things went back from there. It went back up to 325. So it went up, and then now it's down to 266. But weight is a hard thing, because it comes and goes, and in mental. Some people, especially with mental things, that depression. Some people eat when they're depressed. Some people don't eat when they're depressed. And I'm a type of person that I would eat when I'm depressed. I'm not one that don't feel like eating food,
Yeah.
so you have to deal
Exactly.
with that. So you have that. So what's the average person that you kind of help out, thinking in that direction right now? So what is somebody, how would you say the typical person who uses your service? What do they like?
So for the most part, people who come to me they kind of range. I have moved more to helping people online, and that honestly kind of happened with COVID, when the gyms shut down, right? So my clients were like, "Hey, Roni," and that was where the mental health piece came in, because they were like, "I'm going crazy at home. Can you help me?" So that was when I learned, how to coach people online. And since then, I tend to have more females, but
Okay.
I have one-on-one. I have more male clients. I have a group program for women, and then I have male clients monthly. And honestly, they range. I have some clients in their 20s, some clients in their 60s, and it depends on what they're looking for. But I find that when people come to me, they're sick and tired of doing things the way that they've been doing them. Right? They're tired of the diets. They're tired of gaining and losing weight. They're tired of the restrictive and the shame. Because I like that you kind of picked up on a bit of my attitude there, because that's a lot of what I do, right? So with my clients, when we come in, I actually just started a bit of a summer cleanse. But the thing that I'm doing in this cleanse is it's not like we're coming in working off what we ate this summer. We're not feeling guilty. We're not restricting ourselves. We're not punishing ourselves. We focus more on, nourishing our bodies, on doing things that are good for us, and exercising because we feel good. So like I said, I have a big range of age, but the most people who come to me, they just are like, you know what? I don't want to diet anymore. I just want to stick with it. I want to make it simple, and I want to maintain it. And it tends to be people who have tried before. And like I said, they've gained weight, lost it again, because the way that I do it, again, I don't give you a restricted diet, right? I'm not like, okay, you can only eat this. You're never allowed to eat this. And I've learned that when I do that, people actually maintain it because there's no rules, right? I give you guidelines. I say, yes, eat more of this, but people are actually able to maintain it. And so I find it's easier with people who have already tried a diet before and realized they didn't like it. And those are the people who come to me because they're like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that again.
I always have a saying is I feel like diets don't work. What it is, lifestyle changes do.
Yes.
So, it's diet. It's you try it, you're good. While you're on it, you do good, but then you get off it, you lose it. I mean,
Mhm.
even when I was telling you earlier about losing, 80 something pounds or something like that, I still didn't eat correctly. I just ate less of it, but I was burning it off, so it didn't really matter. It wasn't. If I had somebody like you, my trainer was great for the weights, the running, the exercise, but there was no mental like say, okay, how's your eating habits? And I always say I have bad eating habits. I've had it my whole life. I've been on the
Yeah.
road for 30 something years and single and traveling and
Yeah.
I mean I just eat out a lot. It's just because it's easier. I don't like to make food. I don't like to cook.
Totally.
My niece is a little overweight and stuff, but she loves to cook and she likes to do that. And it comes from her mother. Her mother was a chef type. Her brother's a chef. So they like that kind of stuff. I
Yeah.
particularly could care less. But dealing with the balance of just the physical, but also the mental, I think that's a great combination. So your clients are lucky to have somebody like yourself. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely find it gets people the best results. And like I said, that was where I noticed I started
Hmm.
changing the most. So it
Okay.
it definitely changes it up a bit.
Okay. I don't know why I just came up with this. One of the thoughts. What are some of the things, or achievements in your life that you like to share? Some of the things that you have accomplished that you can say, that a girl, it's like, what are some of the things that you've done that you can almost like pat yourself on the back saying, hey, I busted my butt. I did this. I worked hard. I got it done. What are some of the things like that? I don't know why that
Um,
came into question, but it
Very good
did. So,
question. um,
huh?
that's a good one. Okay, let me think about that. Well, I guess honestly, the one thing that I look back and I will say I will never do it again, but that I am
Okay.
very proud of myself for, because again, the dedication and all the things was
Hmm.
when I competed in that fitness competition. So I walked away with a first place and a second place trophy. And
Okay.
it was my first time ever. And like, I'm one of those people who you tell me what to do and I'll do it. And it
Hmm.
was a grueling few months, right? Like
Right.
you ask my family, you ask my friends, I was not a happy person to be around. But it was one of those things that I wanted to do it to say I did it, right? Like
Hmm.
to prove that I had the willpower, that I could stick with it and that I could push
Right.
myself that far. And it
Okay.
was definitely crazy, but one of the things that I am very proud of myself for, and that, like I said, I have the pretty shiny trophy, all of the things.
Yeah.
Um, but in a totally different aspect, another thing that I'm very proud of is 4 years ago, I moved across the country. And
Okay.
again, being a small town girl from Ontario, it was
Right.
like I saw myself just staying there, right? Growing
Right.
up there, having a family, doing what everybody else was doing,
Hmm.
because people don't really leave, right? People don't
Right.
leave. And I was lucky enough to kind of get a job that brought me out here. And then I was
Okay.
supposed to learn how to do the job remotely, fly home and do it there.
Right.
But I spent my summer here and it's just so beautiful.
Right.
And I just was like, I was never a very spontaneous person, but I was like, I
Hmm.
have to live here. Like I have to figure it out. And
Right.
it was crazy because I quit the job that I was supposed to come out here for. I didn't like it. So I quit the
Okay.
job and I drove across the country. I didn't have a place to live. Like I didn't have
Wow.
anything. Like it was very, looking back, I'm like, I can't believe I did that. But
Right.
it all worked out. With my first 2 weeks here, I had 3 jobs. I
Wow.
actually had to quit one because, I
Right.
didn't have enough time, and like everything kind of fell into place. And it's one of the things that I'm so proud of myself for, because like
Hmm.
it was terrifying to do, but
Right.
now that I'm here, like I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it at all.
Okay.
Um,
Well,
so
it's nice
yeah,
to like where you live. I know I'm not a Florida fan. I've never really liked the humidity. When it's cool, it's nice. I like it, but I'm not. My running joke every time I do a podcast, I talk about I was moving to Tennessee, and when I was flying here, I missed and I landed in Florida. Eventually, and someone gave me a term which is I never heard of. Because I went from Massachusetts to Florida, and then I'm moving back to Tennessee part time. So they're called halfbacks because they move half back to where they came from. So
that's funny.
yeah, and most people like come to Florida in the wintertime, which I'll still do because it's cooler. But once I get
Mhm.
my bus, I want property in like North Carolina, and because I'm going to travel, I want to be able to do interviews all over the country, and I'm going to get a map on
Yeah.
my wall in my office I'll be able, every time I do an interview with somebody, whether it's on the computer or in person, just put a pin and like say, okay. And then later on, I'll start planning my trips, like I'll go up and down the maps and get to interview people, because computers are nice. And we talked about this, especially with mental. I mean, you can deal with people mentally, mental fitness and all that kind of stuff by a computer. I mean, you can coach people and stuff like that, but it's still that personal one-on-one contact. We kind of lost it. COVID kind of really made us do what we do. I mean, I didn't really get into this kind of video interviews until later, but I mean, a lot of people did. I mean, they use Zoom calls and stuff like that. It became very popular. To me, it's travel-wise. I mean, for me to drive from Florida to your place to do one interview, it's a long way and a very expensive way. I mean, later on, I can start pinning stuff and then do multi-interviews, because just because we do one interview, I mean, I always like to do follow-ups. I got a buddy of mine in Pennsylvania. He was in Florida. We did an interview with him and his wife. Mm-hmm. I just did an interview with him on the computer, but he's in Pennsylvania. But eventually, I'm going to go up there and drive. He has 5.5 acres of a farmland. So I can park my bus in his front yard. Nice. He says I can park many buses in his front yard. That's how big it is. He's renting, perfect. But it's perfect. So I always look at that. I have people in Branson, Missouri, that I'm going to go visit. And I have one friend in Alaska. I don't know if I'll, but if I go up to Washington and California, maybe I'll work my way up to Alaska one time. But I like to do that. It just takes time and it takes money. But the neat thing about like what you're talking about working remotely is we can do, I mean, like I said, I'm in Florida, you're in Canada. We're communicating like you're in the next room over. So it's great. And I like it. So I know today's would not be a super long interview. We're just basically just get to know, what's going on with your life and stuff like that. What would you like to say to somebody that's maybe struggling with, maybe their weight or they're mentally, this, not in disorder, but they kind of depressed or a little bit like that. What would you say to them if I was talking to you as a client and I was saying, okay, I'm overweight and I don't really feel like doing anything, blah, blah, blah. What would you say to them?
So the biggest thing that I would want to say is two things that always go overlooked. And the first one is start small, right? Okay. Whenever people are starting, they think that they need to work out 7 days a week and eat perfectly and like do a whole lifestyle overhaul, which like we were talking about at the beginning, yes, it is a lifestyle change, but you don't need to change everything at once, right? You get to start small, start adding more water, start adding more vegetables, start going for like a 5 to 10 minute walk a day. And the next step is every step counts. I think in fitness, people are so quick to notice all the things they didn't do, right? You hear it all the time. People are like, oh, I'm so good with my diet until after dinner and then I just lose it, right? Or people who will say, oh, I was doing so good with my workouts and then I missed one, so I just stopped doing it. But when we go the other way and we focus on every step counts, right? So, okay, I didn't get all my workouts in this week, but I still got 2 in. Right. And same thing with my nutrition. Like, okay, I wasn't perfect, but I ate more vegetables this week. I drank more water. I had more healthy meals. When we learn to do that, it does a few things. One, it's more motivating, right? It's easier to keep going when we're positively reinforcing ourselves along the way. But also what this does is this helps us to train the way we talk to ourselves differently. Right. And this is a big part of the mental health thing. Like when I was struggling with my mental health, I was always focusing on the lack, right? On what I wasn't doing, on where I wasn't, on, if I lost 5 pounds, well, I still had, 10 to go, and on, never being good enough. But when we can focus on the small steps, and I think sometimes people just need permission to start small. Like, people always think that they need to have the perfect diet and the perfect routine to start, and that could not be farther from the truth. I think sometimes they just need that permission to know that, okay, if all I do today is go for a 10-minute walk, that's enough, right? If all I do today is eat a salad with my lunch, that's enough. And I think what people don't realize is that, when you have either a lot of weight to lose or you feel like you're so far gone mentally, the smallest things make the biggest difference. Right. And it's like physically and mentally, right? When you're trying to lose weight, and you hear it all the time, especially with men, right? I'll have like clients and their husbands trying to lose weight, and the women are, really watching what they eat and, working out, and like all their husbands do are cut out beer and do the workouts with them, and they lose like 20 pounds in their first month. Right. But like with women, I find sometimes it takes a little bit longer because of our hormones. But if you stay consistent, that's all that matters. Like what I focus on with my clients is it's on allowing for imperfect consistency, right?
Okay.
People tend to be perfect inconsistently, but if we can focus on imperfect consistency, that's when you're going to maintain it. So yeah, if you're struggling, just know that, start small and every step counts, and tell yourself that every single day, right? If you positively reinforce that, you'll start to believe it and it won't feel so overwhelming.
Well, there's 4 things that popped in my mind. It's funny dealing with food. The expression is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Exactly. Okay. I use that saying a lot, actually.
The second thing that popped in my mind is the journey, a long journey. It starts with the first step. How do you, and then the other things that come, 2 other things that popped in my mind is, what happens if you fall off your bike or your horse? You get right back on it again. You dust yourself up, you turn yourself around. Friends of mine used to have a song like that, about dusting themselves off and turning themselves around. But yeah, if you fall off the horse, you just jump back on it again and then just continue. I've never been an alcoholic, but that's, if you go off, you go back to drinking again, you just, let's start all over again and just continue the path. So that's pretty cool. So, and wrapping up here a little bit, because you do virtual stuff too, and also physical stuff too, virtually, how do people get a hold of you if somebody wanted to know more about what you do and stuff like that?
So I am all over social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I also have a free Facebook group. So, and I sent you the link for that. So the Facebook group has tips and inspiration and like tons of just trainings and things. So it is a great free resource if you are just looking for a group to kind of learn a little bit more and get started on your journey. But other than that, like I said, my social media, I am very active on like Facebook and TikTok, Instagram, all of the things. And if you are looking to learn more about it, all of my links are on those pages. So if you want to book a call with me or anything like that, you can do that through those as well.
That's cool. Now, I have to ask this because social media, do you do anything with YouTube?
I don't yet. I did YouTube a while ago, and then lately I've been trying to focus on building Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And there's
TikTok
so many.
Is the big TikTok with the younger people, or Facebook was so yesterday. Instagram is becoming yesterday, but TikTok is the way. And I see a lot of people dealing with. Even I, in the Millennium Beat, I had an account on my personal account. I used to call myself a TikTok judge. I would sit there and watch you and say, nope, next. Okay, you get a heart. Nope, next. Okay, you get a heart. Okay, you get a follow because you have some good information. So I'm a TikTok judge. But as what happens with this program that we're using right now to do this recording, anything good, it will give me clips, and with it will title them too, and it will go through. It's all robotic. It's all AI, and it will make me little clips. And I'll not today because I have a schedule. I'm pretty booked. But tomorrow I will go through the skip and I'll look for some of those things, and I will add it to my TikTok channel. It will be it's just a snippet of one of the best clips out of our conversation. So, but really cool. Roni, I just like to thank you very much. It was great to meet you and talk to you a little bit about what's going on in your life and stuff like that. And everybody else, check her out. Check out her Facebook page and stuff like that. If you have any questions, reach out to her, especially if it's dealing with mental health and dealing with your weight or stuff like that. So, but Roni, again, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Kevin. I had a great time, and I look forward to learning more about you in Florida as well.
Yes, that's good. That's good. Well, everybody else, you've been watching the Millennium Beat with your host, Kevin James. I'm glad you stopped in. Tune in next week for some more guest or topic shows. So everybody, take care, and we'll see you soon.
This has been a Millennium Beat LLC production. Views and opinions of the guest are not always the views and opinions of the Millennium Beat LLC. Check us out on social media, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and TikTok at the Millennium Beat, or on Twitter at Millennium_Beat. If you would like to partner with us to reach the world, go to our website for more information. You can go to themillenniumbeat.com or tmb2000.net. Your financial support is greatly appreciated. We couldn't do all we do without your support. The Millennium Beat just updated our website from the ground up. Check it out at themillenniumbeat.com, or you can get there by using millenniumbeat.com or tmb2000.net, where you'll be redirected to the millenniumbeat.com's homepage. I want to thank Mass Inbound for their awesome work on our website. If you're looking for somebody to build your site, I recommend them. You can reach them at massinbound.com. That is massinbound.com. These are some of the things that you can find on our website. Homepage. You can watch our latest YouTube video or listen to our audio podcast. Also listed are some of the platforms our audio podcast is on. You'll find out when the next podcast will air and who the guest will be. On the top right, you will find 2 red buttons, Learn How to Help and Become a Guest. Under Learn How to Help, you can become a partner, sponsor, contributor, or contribute to the future Millennium Bus. You can give one-time or monthly recurring. The choice is yours. The other button is Be a Guest. Click it, go to the form, and fill it out, and we will get back to you. We would love to hear your story. Click the About Us drop-down where you'll find stats, where we are reaching people, and to find more information on our sponsors. Click on the podcast drop-down, then click on the Calendar tab where it will tell you when the shows will air and who will be on them. Or if you need to know about any meetups of the Millennium Beat staff, partners, or listeners. Also, there might be on the calendar an event at which the Millennium Beat staff will be at. Click the Guest tab for all previous guests, links to their website, social media pages, and any store they might have. Click the Forms drop-down. There you'll find a release, Be a Guest, or Become a Sponsor form.